Hi, my name is Robert Freid. This is the amazing Stephen Borgman Freedom Bad Application Final Project presentation. This was our project for the semester. The project inception, the general parameters at first was we had to decide on a band application or on an application period. And we went around a lot of different things and then decided on a band application. So the initial discussion was, well, what do we want to do with this? And a lot of confusion at first over what should be focused on. And we went around, and one view was to look at the band members and have a lot of dynamic content with the band, the members, and things with that. And then we went around and eventually ended up thinking, well, that's not really practical. The primary thing is that the band wants to sell is their recordings and their paraphernalia, T-shirts, things like that. So we sort of came around to that more. It was more important, and we began to discuss who would pick up, what parts of the project, and of course the degree of difficulty that we were going to encounter. We had to determine our team roles, and of course, we needed to have an environmental setup that works. So our group discussion on possible projects went on for a few days, and we went around on some various projects and ended up deciding on the band application. And then immediately went into the degree of difficulty. Do we outsource the sale to Amazon or Apple, the Apple Store, or how much do we do? Do we sell tickets? Do we offset the ticket part? Um, and what advantages, disadvantages for the band? What do they need to do? Because at first, a lot of the discussion was about the band members, and there's not much of an advantage to having a lot of dynamic content with the members, but there certainly is with the sales. So disadvantage with these types of sites is most of the bands don't have a lot of capital to invest in their projects. So that would be in reality a potential disadvantage. So the final group decision was to proceed. Um, so what features should we have? Well, we finally settled on selling recordings and band paraphernalia. We wanted to track and capture client inquiries and then show features about the band and the members and the concerts and the performances. So that was our primary focus on that. And the flow of information, we wanted to make sure that that was all being handled. Wanted to do some prototyping, so what the screens would look like and so forth. And then, of course, we have a verification process by the group and the acting stakeholder. So we began our final discussions on roles and the allocation of work, and we were following the class model of separating the programming and construction of the application into the UI DAO to service to DTO model, and making sure that we were settling on the degree of difficulty. So is the music going to be linked to like Apple Music or Amazon or other places? Or are we doing it in house? Same thing with the band products. Do we want it available in both places? And also the band itinerary where they're playing and upcoming concerts and other events. And will the user be able to purchase tickets? So we decided that the ticket sales part would be definitely outsourced to a ticket sales agency. So we allocated the roles by our application division by the model we used in the class. So the UI level went to one member of the group, the DTO to another, and the service layer and DAO went to another member who also acted as the stakeholder. We had a member drop, so basically all four categories were handled by two of us, and so we just plowed through the best we could under the circumstances. So again, we had a group discussion, and we finalized our project roles, and that was done. Um, so it was essential that we have the same working environment. Our IDE was Eclipse, and we were making sure that we were using the JSF dynamic HTML pages, Tomcat as a server, using GitHub as the repository for the project work, and the Scrummy.com for our project management tools for our work goals and milestones. And of course, as we moved through the semester, we were adding additional tools: Prime Faces, SQL, Hibernate, different JUnit, Mojito, the Growl, and then the Q and Hibernate, different things. So as we went through, we were obviously adding many things on, and we wanted to make sure that every team member had the same versions, the same. Everything was the same, so that when one person did one thing, it was uploaded to GitHub, another person would download it or get it back from GitHub, and we were all working with the same configuration. Very important. And doing that online, and not being able to see it all, a lot of emails going back and forth there, a lot of discussions about that. But we did manage to get a good working system. So here's a typical screenshot of the splash page. So it was kind of a nice design, actually. I thought it was very kind of pleasant, and this would be a home page, sort of, and just an idea of getting something out there that we could work with. Now here is it was our mock-up for the flow. So you get to the index HTML. XHTML was the splash page, which then went to the home page, and we eventually consolidated the music recordings and the store items for sale into one page, the cart being another XHTML page, and then checkout another, and then at checkout there would be a growl, sales complete, alert, and then obviously to a thank you page. And we eventually took media, social, bio, tour, and press and combined that into one page. So we reduced the pages down. And then contact was another page with a inquiry text area there for submission, and with a reply, thank you for your inquiry page attached to that too. So that was our end up of our web pages. The next thing was figuring out the database and what we're going to capture and what was being collected, how it's representative, what processing is necessary, the data storage configuration, what information is returned to the user, and what remains persistent in the database. And here's a look at our data diagram. So the primary things we are interested in having be dynamic, at least to get the page up and running, was to focus on the sales of recording and store items and the contact request. So there we have recording ID, name, date, price, some items there, store items, name, description, customer ID, name, customer info. Obviously those get expanded. And then of course we have the contact request the customer can make. And then obviously a dynamic part, the sale, which is an associative entity there to keep track of sales of either store items or recordings. So that was our basic data diagram. And then after that, we used that to create the UML class diagram. And you can see you have a search customer and search store items. And then we have our DTO at the top, which is customer, store items, and inquiry. And our service layer for linking up all the other parts, and then our DAO, or our data. So the DTO was the customer, store items, and inquiries. So they represent the potential customer can purchase recordings or commodities, store items for sale to users, and an inquiry. the UI, which is allows the user to search customer and search store items. And DAO was our representation of customer or our other of the items and so forth in our inquiries. And then the service layer, bringing it all together. And so here's a screenshot of our Scrummy.com project. So as we work through different tasks and different things we had to do, they move over across, and you can see when they're done, they're put in the done column, and that was that. We did keep track of that. And then our GitHub repository number 1, this was the persistence. No, this is the part where you see how I actually created GitHub and the branches to represent the users or the groups. So product owner I was the product owner, so I was involved with the service and the DAO. UI was one member, and the data was persistence. So each person's work was done individually, and so we were able to keep control of who did what and how much work everyone did. And I thought that was a good way to do that. And there's the repository number 2. That's a single member. That's the persistence. And you can see the SQL and then the other parts that they did. And then here's the master, where all the pulls from other branches are brought together. And this is the final project. And this is where we would pull it all together and get it running. So here's an Eclipse screenshot of the master. Some of the things there that are working, and one of the client inquiry Java, there's a class there for that. And here's there's the comments for the contact page that you put in there. At this point, we were unable that ran out of time in terms of making it look like our prototype, but we did the best we could on that. So we had a member drop out, and there were some difficulties with that. 2 of us had to finish up everything. So here's a snippet, code snippet from the SQL for the data that you can create table if it doesn't exist and so forth. And this is an expansion of those items that we saw in the beginning of what data we're capturing. Here is some of the additional Java class files in GitHub that were created, and were there for the data access, the data repository. So additional comments about our project. I took this class. I'm a senior citizen, and I took the audit. I was allowed to take this class as an audit. I graduated in 2003 from the IT program in the College of Applied Science. Brandon actually taught 4 classes that I took, and he was an excellent instructor then, and I think he still is now. I went on to complete my master's in IT in 2006, focusing mostly on project management and structural design. So I took this class because I've been continuing to upgrade my IT skills. I did finished recently a HTML5 class at UC and client-side web design with Tom Wolfe, where we used Cordova to run binary applications for single-use, no matter what, whether it's a cell phone or a laptop or a desktop. You create HTML, XHTML files that work on all platforms. So that was a very interesting class with heavy client-side capacity. So that was extremely interesting. And then I took this class because I figured, well, my programming skills are probably seriously out of date. And they were way, way more out of date than I thought they were. But I decided to continue the class anyway and to do everything I could possibly do. And what I would do is I would try to do everything. And if it failed, I would roll back my Eclipse to where I got it working again. And then I would try again. So spending a great deal of time also studying the concepts and everything that was being taught in the video lectures and so forth. And I would definitely prefer to take, I would have to take this class again. I'm glad I audited it, that's for sure. But obviously, I think I would have to go back and refresh some of my programming skills, take it again. And I did not realize there had been such a tremendous change in the industry since I graduated in '03. So lots of changes, very interesting, and I thought it was an excellent class. So I appreciate your time and interest in looking at this video, and here's some links. And feel free to contact either one of us if you have any questions at all. Thank you very much.